All right, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode, which is episode 56 here on the Lure Lab, a part of the Serious Angler Network. And as always, I am your host, the captain, Andrew Full. And today we have a new bait to the market that we are talking about. And it's a cool one because I got to mess around with it before anybody really got to see a photo of it. And it's by Cast Fishing. And it's called the Echo, and it's a cool little bait. And we're having Ryan Hanks on today from Cast Fishing USA, and we're gonna break into this new bait that is new to the United States market, and I believe is new in general to cast fishing. And if you're familiar with Ryan, we've had him on a few times talking unique topwater baits, and we've been on the Serious Angler Network and talking about like a smallmouth adventures up north with Joe LaBarbera, and just overall, they have an awesome product and making big headways here in the bass fishing market coming from a saltwater company. So I wanted to get Ryan back on here today, talk about this new bait that is entering the US market. I believe it released earlier this week. So we're going to get him on here. We're going to chat about it and all the different unique ways that we can rig it. And by the way, to catch this really big smallmouth, because I've caught a handful on it already, messing around with it on a certain rig, which we're going to talk about. So stay tuned and let's get Ryan on here. Hey, Ryan, how's it going?
What's up, brother? How you doing today, man?
Oh, not too bad. I'm sorry that my hectic morning delayed us recording just by a couple minutes, but things are good. How are things with you?
Doing really good, man.
Yeah.
Staying super busy,
Yeah.
waking up at 5 a.m., going to bed like an old man at 8:30 and rinse and repeat, man, every single day right now. But I
It's a good life.
appreciate you having me on here, man. We're really excited about this one, man. This is something we put a lot of R&D into, and something we're super proud of.
Highly anticipated release, especially by myself. Like I'm a big fan of it. I think every time I caught a fish, I sent you a photo with it in its
That's
face.
right, man. No,
And
it was really cool that you got to test it, and it showed us kind of exactly what we need.
Yeah.
I do live down here in Florida, fish saltwater a lot, but I go back home. My home lake is Lake Lanier, and really, up in North Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee. So the deep, clear water is definitely something that we like to fish a lot. So
Yeah, which is what this bait was designed for: deep, clear water and
that's right.
overall finesse application. So we're getting a little finessey here on the Lure Lab today, but highly anticipated release. It's going well so far. It seems like there's a lot of hype behind this bait, and from my perspective, and I love it. And I think I had the Casper, the white color, and then the
That's
Appalachian
correct.
color,
Yeah.
which I'm just about out of them, by the way. I forgot to tell
Yeah,
you.
I'll get you some more up there. I think
Yeah, no worries.
these aren't gonna last too much longer.
Yeah.
We've sold, just with our release, we've sold a ton of them, man. And I think that has in part to do with how big forward-facing sonar is right now. Also the hover rig, which we'll talk about later. And it does something really, really special with that. So it's something I want to show. But
I'm excited to dive into the unique ways to rig this. It's not really unique. I think the last one that we're going to talk about, the most anticipated one, is probably the most unique way. And we've kind of talked about it with different people on this show with Matt Steffen. We've dove into it with you, like a nose hooking variation with a different bait. So we're going to get there. But before we even talk about rigging, I want to know more about the R&D in the Echo and what is the Echo exactly.
Okay. So this is what we just released. Let's see if you can see it well. This is the 3.5 Echo right here. And essentially this bait was born from the Prodigy swim bait. Let me see if I got a Prodigy right here to show you. You can see what makes this bait. Both of them have this. There's two key features that I want to point out here. First is this scallop side right here, right? So you see something like this, like even on like a Mega Bass Vision 110 jerkbait, how you're getting that really good darting action when you snap. It lets the water go down it. And then the other key feature that we have is this little glass rattle. This is both in the Prodigy and in the Echo. And we've really, since we've released these baits, started using this more as basically a chamber to hold tungsten nail weights, depending on whether we're going to do the sneak rig with the Prodigy or what I'm going to show you later on, how we're fishing this as a hover rig. And it's a straight tail little bait. It's very finesse, but it's something that is excelled really well using forward facing sonar. There's a ton of applications for this, right? I fish it a ton of different ways, and I want to show you one of my favorite ways is to fish it on a queen tackle tungsten finesse underspin. And I'm actually even throwing this underspin on spinning gear, which is super cool, but a very finessey way. You can bomb it a mile. It's a great setup for that. You've got the little rattle on here. That's one of my first ways I fish this bait.
Now, before we dive further into how do you fish it and the techniques, right? Like, how many colors does the Echo come in currently? And which two do you think our viewers should always have in their box to kind of compete?
So let me show you the colors here. We've got, as you mentioned, the one you were using, Casper, white pearl. It's basically a white pearl with a blue shimmer on it. We've got our blueback herring color, right? And then my favorite color is the one I just showed here. This is Appalachia. This is going to be hard. And you've took some pictures and sent them to me, saw it in person. When you're looking at this on a video or pictures, it comes up just kind of looking really green. Yeah. But the bottom of this has a really cool kind of pearlish oyster thing. And why I made that color, why we called it Appalachia, is, I used to work at Hammond's Fishing, and we would sell blueback herring for bait. And if you actually look at those fish in the tank, they're olive on the back. They're olive green. They don't really turn that bluish purple color until they're hurt or they're injured, right? So I wanted something to match that. And also just green is such a natural color as well that you can fish on a multitude of lakes.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Yeah, I really like that color a lot. I think I caught more smallmouth on that one than I did the Casper. The Casper one excelled for me when it was cloudy and kind of
exactly. That's when I like to use Casper. Same thing on linear. That white is really good cloudy, but my favorite color is the Appalachia color.
Okay. That blueback herring is another really good one as well. So,
and that's why we wanted to keep it simple. Just 3 really good colors for right now. We will add some more colors in the future, but right now on the initial release, we wanted 3 proven colors.
Yeah, I apologize that I said 4. I couldn't remember if it was
3
or 4. So I knew I had 2 of the 3. So yeah, it's awesome. But so I noticed one thing on the underspin, and that is, we know the queen tackle tungsten underspin doesn't have eyes on the jig head. Do you think it's important when you rig any type of bait that has eyes on it not to have an eye jig head? And just
God, that is like the biggest thing through every fisherman, isn't it? Yeah. And I have buddies who don't care at all. Then I have like how I am, or like how Franco, my good friend Franco, is, and like we're so anal, man. Like it personally bothers me. I'm sure it doesn't. Then I have guys that say, oh well, that there's the eyeball in the jig head, and then the eye there is kind of like the little dot, like on the side of a thread fin or something like that. So
it makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And it's just a preference thing. But I personally don't like to have double set eyeballs. It's just not my style.
I'm the exact same way.
Yeah, that's what I really like about on this tungsten underspin or a jig head. It's very clean. You got your eye there, and that's my own OCD probably, right? When it comes to fishing gear. Yeah. But that's my preference on it.
I am the same way. So we covered the underspin, right? Like, so what is the setup you're going to throw with the underspin, line, reel, rod, so our viewers know here?
For probably 95% of using the Echo, I'm only going to use 1 or 2 rods. A medium spinning rod, 7/6 medium spinning rod for most applications. When we get into the hover rig stuff later, I will step down to a medium light blank, but really a medium spinning rod. I'm a big fan of the Shimano Twin Power. That's my favorite reel. I use a 3K size. I know I can get away with a 2500, but I have found with the bigger spool that I'm able to make longer casts. And that's important on the lakes I fish. I'm fishing a lot of herring lakes where you're fishing open water, not so much structure oriented, and you want to be able to make the longest cast and cover as much water. So that's why I prefer that size reel. And then for every application, I'm using our 12-pound Cast X12 braid. That is a very thin diameter braid.
My favorite braid, by the way, for anyone who's listening.
I really appreciate it, man. And I think out of all of our products, it's my favorite. It's something I tell Mick, my business partner, we could just be a braid company if we really wanted to do that. Like it's really, really cool. And then, as far as like the leaders I'm using, just depending, probably somewhere between a 7 to, and sometimes step down to 5, but 7 to 10 pound fluorocarbon leader. I use like 7-pound FC Sniper a lot.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I like all of that. But
yeah,
especially with a long distance cast with an underspin is very vital, because
it is. And I want to give a big shout out to Queen on this too, because, really like the underspin, I think that really started on our lake, and when we would throw the underspin back in the day, I would throw it on a bait caster. Okay. I would have probably 12-pound fluoro. We would throw a 1/2 ounce size a lot. It'd be a big hunk of lead. Okay. Where you put like a fluke junior, whatever trailer you wanted. But now with this kind of very compact, I mean, this is a 3/8 ounce size, right? It's still pretty small. And then the quarter is even smaller than that. It's very finessey. You've got that light wire hook. So you can get away with throwing this on a spinning rod with 12-pound braid and even a 7 to 10-pound fluoro leader. And what that does is just what I told you. You can absolutely bomb it. We have a lot of fish that like to come up schooling, always just far away from the boat where you can't cast. But now you can get on them with that. So it's a really cool little finesse combo. And then, when you have this light wire hook that's on here, you're not jamming those fish, right? Like you're not trying to put a flipping hook into them. It's so sharp, you're just reeling into them. So it kind of really works well with the 12-pound braid, the medium rod, and the light leader. It's a whole system, which I'm sure this is like right up your alley. I mean, with the smallmouth fishing that you do,
Yeah, the one rod I would use probably for it, and I know for a fact I use whenever I'm on a ball head, is the Alpha Angler spy bait rod, because
I got to use that rod when I went up there, and I'm still due to get a couple of those rods, man. Those were incredible rods, and that was a lot of fun using those. So
they just load so beautifully with that super light.
It does. I was fishing the sneak rig on that, and it was perfect, man.
Yep.
So
100%. So let's hop into the next unique way to use this bait, right? And I think we're gonna dive into the little chatterbait now.
Yeah, so we found once again, which is crazy, right? So we just talked about throwing underspins on spinning rods. Jackal makes a chatterbait called the Dare Break, and it is a finesse little chatterbait. Okay,
you can only get that in the JDM market, right? I believe
that's correct. I've got this one. There's a tackle store in Tennessee on Lake Chickamauga called Talking Tackle, and I got it from those guys. But they're not really easy to source right now. I'm not sure where you could find them, but if you come across this chatterbait, I definitely encourage you getting one. They're a lot of fun. Now you can throw this on a bait caster, but you really can throw it well on the same setup, that medium spinning rod, light braid, light leader. And you were just asking me about as far as the jig head having eyeballs and the bait. You'll notice right here, I've left, so the jig head the front of the chatterbait has eyeballs, and then I cut this bait down so it didn't have the eyeballs, and it just matches it perfectly, man. It's a really, really cool, compact finesse system. High pressure days, something like that. Fishing's tough. You want to downsize. You don't want to throw your traditional big chatterbait with a huge trailer. This is a way to get some really good bites on it. And I don't know the name of this color on this Dare Break, but it matches the Appalachia perfectly right here. So that's the next thing. It's a really good trailer for underspins, chatterbaits, and then something that I don't have in front of me, but is very important to point out, is a scrounger head. It works.
Have you tried it with the Z-Man Mini Max yet? Like
I haven't, just because I haven't got one yet, but I saw that and I thought the same thing. I think that would match it perfectly.
Yeah, I think that's because and it's hard to get those Dare Breaks, but I do have some Mini Maxes. I think
it would definitely work on there.
Off of that. Yeah.
I
like that. And I throw that on a bait caster because that's a super beefy hook. So just
right. And you can do that. Yeah. I think the Dare Breaks, I mean, they still have, this hook is not as thin as what's on the Queen Tackle, but it's still a light wire hook. So you could this is one you could throw either way. You could throw that on a spinning rod. You could also throw that on a bait caster.
How heavy is that Dare Break? Like quarter?
So I think this is a quarter. This might be a quarter or 3/8 right here.
Slightly too heavy to throw on a BFS setup.
But I know. I've thought about that, and I've thought about there's a lot of stuff I want to do with the Echo on the BFS setup that I want to play around with. So,
well, when you figure that out, we'll have to have an episode about it.
We will.
What's next for the fun ways to rig?
Okay, so the way that you rigged it, and what I think is really effective, what's going to be a big player for us, coming in the winter time. Yeah, forward-facing sonar. There's the Demiki rig, right? That's just a little Queen Tackle tungsten jig head, and I'm leaving the rattle in there on this one. So if you're dropping it down over fish, you can sit there and rattle it. It'll cause the attention. Or you've seen some of the guys that just take a straight tail bait on forward-facing sonar, throw it out, and they're just doing little pumps of their rod and reeling it. Both of those ways.
I forgot what that's called. The style of fishing, but mid-strolling. It's called
mid-strolling. So you can definitely mid-stroll with this bait.
I've caught quite a few smallmouth mid-strolling, like say 10 foot over 40, so 30 foot down, so 10 foot
Yeah,
off the bottom and just walking it over their head. You wouldn't believe how many smallmouth, and I'm sure spots will do this too, will actually come up and rise just because they're curious. Then you can either hit
exactly.
them with
Yeah.
fire or throw a secondary bait on, like a drop shot, and they'll eat it.
Exactly, exactly. And then we're talking about Demiki. I want to bring this up too. This is kind of specific to a region, but something we do in North Carolina, Tennessee. This was born in Tennessee, is tight lining. Okay,
Yep.
so what those fisheries that are so different than, like, I know I reference Lanier, but it's my home lake. You have very defined points on Lake Lanier that you fish. A lot of those lakes up in North Carolina and Tennessee are more bluffy, and they have what I call more of a round than a
Mhm.
point. So in the wintertime, tight lining, taking a little straight tail bait on a very light jig head like this, and almost doing that, you let it pendulum back to you, right?
Yep.
You get some really big fish doing that. It's a fantastic technique. So it can be used the same way.
Yeah.
And it's a very simple thing, just putting a jig head on that. You're going to catch fish on this.
Yeah. It's by far the favorite way that I've fished the Echo so far. Like the few that you sent up to me to like test out on smallmouth. I think I caught one on my very first drop with it.
That's awesome.
And I was over, what was I over? I think I was only over like 28 foot of water, and I was dropping it on a 1/4 ounce head. And that fish came up like 15 foot off the bottom and ate it as I was tight lining it down 20 feet in front of the boat to swing
That's
it down.
awesome, man. That's
Yeah,
cool. That's cool.
smoke as soon as
Dude,
it got
I know I say this. I've got to get up there and get after those smallmouth on this with you. That's what I want to do more than anything, man.
yeah. Yeah, I think the springtime it's gonna play when they're heavily on bait because, and
Mhm.
I'm just saying it's not just pervient to the Echo. The Demiki bite with a Great Lakes smallmouth is always kind of there, but it's one of
Yeah.
those deals that you get tiny little windows for them to bite. And the biggest thing is we need bait fish around for them to want
Right.
to rise and feed up. So, like, it's not something that we crush them on, but we get really big bites with it from time to time. So it's always
Yeah,
great to
that's
have it as like, that golden card in your back pocket that's always just kind of there and ready to go when you realize fish are being a little funky. It's a great follow-up bite for like drop shotting
100%,
areas.
100%. And
So
I'm glad you brought that up about the big fish bite, and that kind of leads me into the final way, or what I feel is the most important way that we're rigging this. Why we have a patent pending design on it was fishing it on the hover rig.
yeah,
And about the same time I sent them to you, I sent them to Franco up on Lake Lanier, and this is kind of crazy. We know we fish a lot of brush piles in the summertime. The first 3 brush piles he pulled a 4-pound spot out of, which was unreal. And it
for
was very
summertime,
surprising.
right?
Huh?
For summertime too.
For summertime, yeah. And just the fact of, like, you're using such a small little finessey bait that you kind of look at it as more of like a numbers bait versus like the
Mhm.
big fish. But what he found was, like, the biggest fish in that school would come up and eat the bait, which was really, really cool to see. And I want to show you why, or what we're doing with the hover rig, right? So what's so important, I don't know, and you can post some videos. We've posted a lot if you go to our social media, is the way we're rigging this bait is we're using size 1. We found like a Decoy FF or a Ryugi hover shot hook.
Mhm.
Okay. This hook just has a keeper on it. It doesn't have the weight. And then we're putting that 3/32 angler tungsten nail weight in the belly of this bait. Okay. So what happens is the separation of the weight and the hook creates a ballast point. So when this bait is going down, on like a hover rig goes down, it's actually shimming and swimming, and it's ultra realistic. It is super, super cool to see that. And you know, I wish I had the video up here to show you, but they can go to our social media and check out the video that we posted.
Yeah.
It's just a really, really unique thing. And so when Franco was fishing it rigged this way, he was doing slight twitches of the rod too. So he'd let it go down. And that's something everybody listening and people viewing, I want to point out, is you don't need to do these big drastic pops of your rod to get action out of this little bait on this rig
Yeah,
the way
just
it is. It's
quick
very
little
light.
quivers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can get it to flutter up and then flutter back down. And that is my favorite thing about the Echo. That's the best way I have found to fish it, is this rig right here, okay?
Do you mind if I
So
make a side note real fast too? When
go
you're
ahead.
shaking it, what I found with the hover rig technique, period, is you don't want your line tight when you're shaking it. You want the slightest little bow in it because it gives it the
You're
most
right.
natural lifelike action. If you're too taut and you're popping it, that thing is moving 8 to 10 inches in that water column. You want it
100%.
as you're reeling it, you want like that slight pendulum in your line, so it's just hovering and basically in place,
You're
maybe 1 to 2
100%
inches
right.
at most.
When we
Yeah.
got the first sample of these, I went down to our swimming pool and was able to really see what you're just talking about very quick. And I noticed if I had my line tight and I'm doing these big drastic pulls, I'm muting the action on it.
Yeah.
Where if I had that little bit of bow, a little bit of slack, it's allowing that plastic of the Echo to really breathe and kind of have that natural swimming motion. So that is the first way. And I feel like my favorite way to rig the Echo. What is so special about this bait and what kind of separates itself, right? So this is going to be a big player, obviously forward-facing sonar. And for us, like in the wintertime, right? So this is important to talk about why we're rigging it two different ways. In the wintertime, the fish are lethargic, they're cold, and we have a really good spoon bite that starts on like a small spoon, like a Flex-It spoon, something like that, not a big Magnum spoon. That gets really good at the beginning of winter, like mid-December, something like that. And this little bait is going to dominate in those same places. Also, marina slips. That's a big secret, but tossing in the marina slip for suspended fish in there. At night, guys go out and fish dock lights for striper and spotted bass and stuff and largemouth. And having this just swim through is going to be incredible for that this winter.
I can see that for sure.
So what I want to relay is this was working for a while with the water temperatures on Lanier this summer. Okay, rigging it this way. What we noticed, and I mean, every fishery is so different too, the way the fish act, you know that, okay? The fish got into a point once the water got really hot, they wanted to chase more. They didn't want slow action. They needed to chase. And you really think, I mean, the pressure of that fishery is insane. Everybody has forward-facing sonar. There's no hidden brush pile. They see 1 million lures a day. So they really, the bite starts off amazing at the beginning of the summer. Once you get into late August and July, like those fish are hard to catch. They're pressured, right? But Franco saw a video, and I want to give all credit to Milliken on this, right? This is the rig he came up with, and it works amazing on the Echo, where now the rig before was fished vertically, right? It's going down, okay? Yep. This is a horizontal rig. And what we do, okay, we still have the separation of the hook and the weight, right? So you've got this up here, but now we're pushing a little 3/16 ounce. This is a Lunker City. It's this right here, Lunker City wacky kind of Nico deal.
Yep.
And what this allows you to do is throw this out over, let's say you've got a school of fish over a brush pile. You can swim it through the middle of the water column, okay? And then when they get behind it, you could speed this up and it won't blow out. Where you can't, the first rig I showed you would blow out. You can't fish, you can fish it through the water column, but you've got to be really slow. This you can really speed up. And what we noticed, once again, with that separation of that, it looks on here like it's a jig head, but it's not. The separation of that hook and that weight allows the plastic motion. And so you're getting this listing action as you're swimming it. So it really looks like a real fish when you're retrieving it. You could also take this same rig like you're fishing Demiki and drop it straight down as well. But this was the rig that once that water temperature rose on Lanier, that they responded to much better. And where I feel like now we're going into, late fall, winter, that first option is going to be the deal for suspended fish that are lethargic. And it's really cool. The reason with the Echo, this is something I want to point out. It's a two-part attack for us there. We fish in the wintertime ditches really deep with and you've done this, a 3-inch Prodigy on a ball head, and you're keeping contact with the bottom and crawling it, right? That's what we're going to use, have that on one rod. And then the other rod for any suspended fish that we see in those areas, we will fire the Echo at them. So it's a two-part attack. Yeah, it covers every part of the water column and all the fish we're seeing. And I can't wait for this winter, and just going out there with 2 spinning rods with 12-pound braids, 7-pound fluoro leaders. That's fun to me. I love fighting big spotted bass, big fish in deep clear water like that on finesse tackle.
Too bad in the wintertime they don't fight as hard. They get a little lethargic.
No, they don't. They definitely don't. They give up easier, but they're big though. They're big. This is their time.
They're big and dumb, which is the best time to catch a big bass.
100% right. 100%
winter.
Right.
I want to say it's like late fall, winter, and early spring is your best chance at catching a true trophy because they need to eat, and 2, they're big and they're dumb. So
that's right. That's right.
So I do want to point something out here though, and I don't know if you know this or not, but Do It Molds actually makes a worm nose sinker head. Yeah, that you can pour all of your own and get I don't know. I think there's 6 or different size cavities in there that you can pour.
See, that's fantastic. Literally we picked this one up because it's what we found that was a little bit heavier, and there's definitely, we probably want different sizes in this, right? This is kind of all we knew about. So that's really cool because then you can get specific for your fishery and understand, hey, they're relating at this depth. This is the one to get down.
Yeah, and I know that's where Franco found it, is one of Milliken's videos. That's actually the Do It
Mhm.
Molds worm nose head. And I've
Oh,
actually been
cool.
rigging, like, I don't put normally the tungsten weight in it whenever I do a hover
Yeah.
rig. I have all of my own worm nose poured heads that I shove
See
in
that,
with
and
it.
it works perfect, man.
Yeah.
You would it's when the next time you go out, if you get a chance, rig an echo up like this,
Yeah.
and like just put your trolling motor on high and put the line out next to the boat and watch how it lifts back and forth, and
Okay. It
this
just
plastic moves. It's so cool, man. I mean, that's about, you can't imitate a bait fish or forage go swimming through the water column any better than that, man. I mean, it's the most natural. So I feel like, this is for guys listening, man. This is going to give you an advantage on pressured lakes. It's as natural as you can get.
man, look at that tail.
Yeah, it's
Hold it
cool,
up
right?
again. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
ease. It moves with ease. And I think that's one cool little note that you can add in here about the Echo is the proprietary plastic that is
Yeah, it's the
added,
same plastic
that's
as the
poured on.
Prodigy. It really, like you can see, I pushed this little lead
Yeah,
head deal in there. It bites onto it good. You're not having to use any sort of screw lock mechanism or any glue. So
yeah.
they're very sturdy baits, right?
I still
Now, I'm
use
not
it
saying
because
if
it
you don't hook
scares
a
me,
giant
but
smallmouth on the hover rig because of the point of contact on that hook that it's not going to tear, right?
yeah.
But you could go all day on an underspin, where it's
Yep.
not pulling that
Or
plastic and
Demicky rig. I think I caught
exactly.
like 17 or 18 fish on the Echo before I had to replace it. So
Right, right. That's what I'm saying. And that is like, why that's important. First off, it saves you money. You're not going through 20 packs of swim baits each trip. As a guide, you don't have to, that helps, right?
yeah,
But it also, like for the tournament fishermen too, it saves time on the water where,
yeah,
time is so important. So you're not re-rigging all day and having to do that. You can keep one bait on, catch a fish, throw it back in there.
without a doubt. It's a
Yeah, it's super
fantastic
cool.
deal.
But yeah, we're really excited about this bait, and it's something just really special. I think that swim that we're achieving with the separation is just something that's very natural, and we have to keep advancing and pushing forward as more and more people are fishing, and there's more pressure. And now with forward-facing sonar, they really can't hide anywhere. So we want to imitate realism as much as
Yeah.
possible.
And now you can shoot the bear here if you want, but what's next? Because I know you guys are always leading in innovation, right? Do
Yeah.
you guys have plans for more soft plastics in the future, or are we kind of limiting it to here for now? Just
No,
because
I think,
I'm generally curious and I haven't had a chance to ask, so I figured why not here on the
well, no,
podcast?
that's fine. So, 100%. You always have to be thinking of the next thing, right?
Yeah,
For us, I want to look at some variations on sizes of the Echo. My, half our other half of the companies in Australia, right? And we do have attention on saltwater as well. So right now, currently in Australia, they're manufacturing a 5.4 version of this that they're going to use strictly for mostly for saltwater, right?
yeah. Or
But where I can
barramundi, I'm
see
sure would crush it.
Barramundi, yeah, all sorts of things. Where I see a 5.4 working in for us, and it's something that I haven't, I'm going to get to samples in the next week or so, is there's two things. One is on like a scrounger on like the Tennessee River chain lakes. I think that could be
Mhm.
incredible. But what I want to do, we've talked about the sneak rig where we're taking our 4.1 Prodigy, putting the nail weight and nose hooking it. I want to test that on the 5.4 Echo and see that if I can work it like a fluke, and then when it falls, it gets that same incredible shimmy action just as the Echo. I mean, just as the 3.5 did. So we're definitely we're gonna add a few more colors. When you first bring a product too, you owe it to the product. You have to scale it, right? And
Yeah.
so you really have to get your first initial order and then build on it from there and scale it. So it takes us a little while. We're not like in a rush to bring things to the market, right? Like we want to make sure that it's something,
Calculated
yeah,
risk
it
assessment.
calculated, but also very different. Like not the 50th version of something. Like why does it do this? Like, what can we do to separate ourselves and really, and more importantly, what's more effective on the fish, right?
Yeah.
But we do have some ideas for some more soft plastics in a totally different range towards the creature bait worm sort of category that we're looking at. And we've gone over some designs and some different stuff, but how do you make a worm separate, right? Like what do you do that's so different? Not that it needs to be, it's already it's already a very effective bait, right?
Right.
But why would we be the 500th company to make a worm? Now, is it because that proprietary plastic does something really cool with that worm where guess what? You're not having to go through 20 bags of worms all day and you're still getting good action. So these are just things that we're going to test and do. And we've got some special things in store for our hard bait line that we'll be releasing in the spring. So we got a lot of attention on that as well. It's been pretty tremendous to see the response on the OG and what's happening kind of nationwide. We created that on Lanier in our first, for a while you get orders from Georgia, but now seeing them, Texas, California, all over it's really cool. And we've got something special coming on that. So
awesome. I look forward to seeing it for sure and hearing about it. So I want to say thank you. And is there anything else before we wrap it up here that you want to touch on the Echo, or do you think we pretty much covered the bases here?
I think we've covered the bases. I just encourage guys to get out there and play with that hook weight separation. We currently on our site, you can grab the angler tungsten, the exact weight, and you can grab the Echo. We don't have a hook at this time. So let me point these out. And I want to say that they're not the best option, but what we found so far is this is a Decoy FF and then the Ryugi hover shot. I think that there could be an improvement on both of these hooks as far as the keeper, right? Because that is a very important thing on the hover rig hook. If you're not going to have the weight there, you've got to have a good keeper or that plastic's going to slide. So we are right now working on making our own hover rig hook for the Echo as well, which we'll have. We got, Eddie Krauth, our buddy Eddie Krauth. He ties one and he ties it on the Gamakatsu. I don't know the number of the hook, but he's tying it with an 80 mono keeper on there, and that makes a huge
probably
difference.
A 604.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah. So I encourage guys just to play with the hooks and the hardware, but that separation you'll see is something that's truly special and something I'm very proud of.
Fantastic. So I look forward to seeing a bunch of fish catches. And if you do try out the Echo, and I'm going to shout it out here real fast, if you try out any cast product or Echo product, please tag the Lure Lab in it when you post it, because we want to see it. And that helps us. If Cast misses it and if Ryan misses it, we can help spread that over to them. So we want to see.
No, yeah, I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you having me on today, man.
Dude, anytime. You're always welcome here. I mean, I enjoy the friendship that we have. So anything that I can help you out with, as always,
and I'm getting it. I appreciate that. And I'm going to get up there and do some smallmouth fishing with you soon, man. That
eventually
is something I really
figure it out. No worries at all. Whenever you can, we'll figure it out. So
I appreciate it, man.
Well,
thanks so much.
Go catch some saltwater fish, and I look forward to seeing some pictures later. And
I will, man.
We'll chat soon.
All right, you have an awesome weekend. Thanks, Andy.
Yeah, you too, buddy.
See you, buddy.
Bye now. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for tuning in to this week's episode here on the Lure Lab, where we're talking the brand new bait released by Cast Fishing here in the United States called the Echo. Like I said in the introduction, that is something that I've been playing around with, I think, since the end of August, beginning of September, maybe even earlier than that. My days are all blended together here, but it does catch fish. I'm a strickler in baits, and I love all of the Cast products, and they simply catch them. I think more tackle retailers should probably carry them because they are a really good bait, and they don't tear and you don't rip through them like other soft plastic companies with boot tails and etc. But if you're here on YouTube and you've tried out the Cast Fishing products, please let us know down in the comments, or what your favorite Demiki rig bait is, or chatterbait trailer that's similar to the Echo, because I love to see that stuff. And then if you're on MP3, your favorite podcast platform like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and you really enjoyed this episode or really enjoyed the Lure Lab, please leave us a review. It allows this podcast to be seen to more fish and fish people like us. And until next Saturday, we will see you then.